Temperatures are hitting record highs across the planet. Every year, 489,000 people die from the heat, according to the World Health Organization. And the majority of the world's air conditioners, about 82%, are made in one country. Yes, China. So maybe better keep this quiet. Shh. Certainly don't tell incoming US Secretary of State Marco Rubio. If he knows they come from China, he'll want to ban all aircons as national security threats. But of course he can't. People need them. No one denies that it's getting hotter. The only disagreements are about the causes. Aircons used to be for hot places, but every year there are more hot places. Once the US hawks learn about this situation, they're going to find it intolerable as trying to get to sleep on a hot, humid July night with no AC. So what will they do about it? It's a tricky one. Let's look at 7 extraordinary facts that help us understand the situation. Now, number 1, we'll start with the history of keeping cool. Centuries ago, early scientists knew that there were 2 processes that cooled a space: breezes and evaporation. Now, in the year AD 747, a long time ago, they had a thought. What if you combine those 2 processes? That year, engineers working for Tang Dynasty Emperor Xuanzong made a room in the imperial palace they called the Liang Dian, or cool hall. Rising jet streams of water created tiny droplets which evaporated, and then the cooled air was further chilled by being circulated through the room by water-powered fan wheels. Result, the emperor could chill out. Number 2, today's air conditioners, of course, are very different. They are small, techie machines and mostly function on ideas put into practice by Willis Carrier, a US inventor in 1902. The first window-mounted unit appeared in that country in 1931, and the cheapest model cost the equivalent of $250,000 US. And that's why, for decades, aircons were only for the rich, with the USA and Japan being the biggest buyers of them. But number 3, things changed, as they have a habit of doing. In the late 1980s, Hong Kong people realized their cousins in mainland China were very clever, and what they saw as high pay rates would be seen by multinationals as low pay rates. So they arranged for international products to be made in mainland China. Now, Chinese workers did turn out to be really good, and the country quickly became the world's factory, making the majority of household appliances and other things for the whole planet. Chinese people soon decided to keep some of the aircons they made. So, between 1995 and today, the proportion of urban households in China with air conditioners increased from just 8% to today more than 70%. Number 4. By 2021, the Chinese were the biggest producers of aircons in the world, accounting for 82% of total global production of room air conditioners. They were also the biggest buyers of aircons too. In that year, Chinese buyers made up 45% of the global AC market. Number 5. But other big consumers started to appear on the horizon. A recent study showed that only about 8% of India's 300 million households have air conditioners. But now a spate of heat waves mean that most Indians want to have the devices. So that nation is expected to be the fastest growing major market from now on. Quick look at the actual numbers. In 2023, the Chinese bought about 90 million aircons. That's slightly over half the world's 170 million unit supply, while Indians bought just 12 million. So there's room for growth there. Sales in China are down because the economy is operating at a lower level than in the past. So aircon salespeople are looking around the world. Number 6, Western Europe has always been a bit of a puzzle. It's a relatively rich and well-developed area, but it's been slow to get a taste for air conditioning, with only about 19% of people having the machines. Yet global warming is causing record high temperatures in those countries too. So they too are shopping for them now. Number 7. Now here's the important bit. What about the impact on the world? At first, people just looked on the bright side. Business people noted that air conditioning improved productivity. Teachers said it raised student grades. And doctors said it dramatically cut the number of deaths on hot days. But then people started to look at the effect on the environment. So, on the downside, the AC sector is a heavy consumer of power and responsible for a significant proportion of carbon emissions. So there is an urgent need to change things again. Today, design engineers are looking at ways to make aircons less harmful, and some governments, including that in Hong Kong, are doing major research programs into finding zero carbon ways to cool buildings. This includes using techniques like airflow and evaporation to cool spaces. Does that remind you of anything? Yes, it's exactly the same methods that the Tang Dynasty Emperor Xuanzong used to make sure he had a hall in his palace where he and his mates could just chill out. What does all this teach us? Keep cool and study history. Peace.